that because we've said we're not going to negotiate in the media. But I will only say that we're working hard to achieve a settlement and to achieve one that is fair to the workers and also to the taxpayers. I will say one more thing. There's been quite an issue made of the fact that there are people who work part-time for the city. I think most people out there who are citizens of the city understand that there are many people who work part-time for different corporations and governments and organizations. And many of these people are people where it is virtually impossible to justify making them full-time employees when they're people who are working in some of our recreational programs and swim instructors and the like. I would point out the majority of our workers are still full-time workers, and I would point out one more thing, which is our part-time workers, unlike almost any others in the working world, have access to benefits, just as an example. And I'm not questioning that. I'm just saying that when a big issue is made of this, I say that we have to sort of look at where the city fits within the overall context of the economy and the citizens who have to pay to run the city services. And without being critical of those workers, because they do a good job for us, that's the kind of discussion we have to have in an honest way around the table. And I hope that's exactly what's taking place at that table as we speak. Well, the notion of contracting out garbage remains on the table as far as I'm concerned. I haven't said that it's been abandoned or forgotten about. I simply said that I was dissatisfied with the numbers that came forward earlier on in 2015, and that we needed to do further work on those numbers to establish, what the facts really were. And I also said at that time that one of the other considerations for me, because the notion of contracting out garbage was never and is not ideological, it is practical, and one of the things that one has to take into account in taking a look at whether or not you would proceed to contract out is the labor relations aspect of it. And so I will just say to you that that is not something that is being directly discussed in these negotiations, but it is something that is still a topic of interest to me, and we're awaiting some further results from the work being done by our public service staff. Bombardier have had their issues, and certainly we've had some issues with them, in particular as it relates to the delivery or non-delivery of our streetcars. But I will say to you this, it's a great Canadian company. They have highly skilled workers producing products that are sold around the world. And oftentimes you can have that mix of great people and great products, but have some business issues. And the challenge of being an effective business leader, which an experience that I've had, is to find a way, if you're having those troubles, to get yourself out of that difficulty. And that sometimes involves partnering with others. It sometimes involves getting new management. It sometimes involves closing or opening different businesses. But I am confident it's a great Canadian company. It does great things and always has. And I'm confident a way will be found to make sure that their problems are put behind them and that they can continue to do a good job for us and many other people that they serve around the world. Well, I mean, if it was that easy, we wouldn't even have to call a meeting. We'd just take a written poll and people could fill out a piece of paper and tell us it was okay. I am confident this budget will pass because it is a budget that is a responsible, balanced budget. It carries with it significant investments in a poverty reduction strategy, in public transit, in housing, at the same time as it keeps property tax increases at the rate of inflation at 1.3%. Again, there's been quite a bit of discussion about the degree to which, for example, this budget addressed the list of spending that was put forward by various parts of the city government on, kind of the ultimate wish list. The percentage of those requested investments that is being funded by this year's budget is significantly higher than in the previous 2 years. There's been talk about the use of reserves to sometimes smooth out budgets. That's what reserves are for, to account for differences that will happen, fluctuations over time. The social housing reserve, for example, we're using about half as much of that in this year's budget as we did in most of the previous 4 or 5 years. And so I would just say to you, this is a responsible budget. It is a balanced budget, balanced in both in the sense that it balances out without any deficit as we're required to do by law, but balanced because it achieves a balance between keeping taxes low, which I think the public will want us to do because of their own challenges they're having at home, and making additional investments in the city and its programs and its future going forward. Yes. Again, I'm confident that the CEO of the TTC, who talked about buses breaking down, that they will be able to operate the bus services this year. There's still a very substantial sum of money, I can't tell you what it is out of my head, being allocated to bus maintenance. We're buying new buses, which are meant to be more reliable, obviously by definition, because they're brand new. And we have financed that. And I'm confident that Mr. Byford will do the excellent job on making sure buses are on the street properly maintained, as he does with every other aspect of the operation of the TTC. We had to make some choices. I mean, budgeting and leadership are about making choices. And we talked with the people at the TTC. We saw the full list of things that they asked for to be funded, as many other people asked for things to be funded across the city. And we made some decisions with respect to investment in transit. I would only point out, as I said earlier on, there are some close to $50 million in new annualized funding this year, 2016, that are going to help with the operation of the TTC, and that's a very substantial sum of money in the budget of 2016. Thanks very much.